Now on Indianapolis This Week, signaling change. A new report finds possible more fee errors at the BMV and calls for huge changes in the organization. So what reforms will actually come to the agency? Running for U.S. Senate, the first Sunday morning one-on-one with the newest Republican to enter the race. And justice denied. Plans for a new criminal justice center appear to be dead. Our insiders on what will happen next.
RTV6, the Indy Channel. This is Indianapolis This Week with Rafael Sanchez.
Thank you for joining us today. We begin with troubles at the Bureau of Motor Vehicles, new potential errors, and a new report outlining changes needed at that agency. A report released this week has uncovered more fee issues at the BMV. In total, 16 fees possibly overcharged, and in 10 fees, people underpaid. We won't know how many or how much money until at least the end of June at the very earliest. The review also points to a series of needed changes at the BMV, including simplifying the structure of fees, create centralized standards and procedures, and evaluate key leadership positions and act as necessary to address those shortcomings. Now, I talked with the BMV Commissioner, Kent Abernathy, who's been on the job now for about 90 days, about that report and what happens next in his own words.
I talk about it as a three-legged stool. There's a three-legged stool, and each one of those legs need to be strong. And if they're not, then the stool, being the BMV itself, is unstable. And the reality is, I think what they've said is that there's issues in all three of those areas. We're working on the operations piece of it. We're going to put in place the controls near term to allow the fact that, as I call it, it's sort of a triage, to make sure that it's stabilized the patient, make sure that there's no more issues that we have like we've had in the past, and then to long-term put a system in place that documents and has a flow that we control that the way things are processed. And timeline, I think the phases are going to take a matter of years, realistically. How many, I don't know. We'll look at, but the hope is in the first year we'll make great progress.
Let's welcome now to the program Representative Dan Forrestal, a Democrat from Indianapolis. He is the ranking Democrat on the House Roads and Transportation Committee and has served as one of the most vocal critics of the BMV in the legislature. Welcome to the program. When we sit down again this time next year, will this issue be fixed?
I certainly hope so. And more importantly, and more to the point, I think it needs to be fixed. For Hoosiers to, have faith that their government is accountable and that the BMV is accountable and transparent, we have to get this fixed.
We just heard from Commissioner Abernathy. He said this will be done in phases. He's hoping for great progress in year one. So what needs to happen to have that great progress in year one?
Well, I think the first thing that I would like to see happen is my call for an interim study committee of this report and the BMV as a whole to go forward. I requested that of legislative leaders 2 days ago. That was seconded, I believe, by the chairman of the Roads Committee. And so hopefully legislative leaders will allow that to go forward and we can take a really broad, comprehensive look at everything in the BMV top to bottom.
How much confidence can Hoosiers have when they walk into their local branch? A lot of good working people there, but in the fee system, can we have confidence in what that we're paying is the correct amount?
Not right now. And let me be clear by saying this. The people who have work on the front lines at the BMV, it is even more miraculous that they do such a good job. The wait times are down. I think people are generally pleased with the way the BMV runs, and that's a testament to the people that work there who we are finding out have been under really, really bad, sometimes conflicting policies. So they've done an excellent job. But in terms of the fees, all we have seen is, increases and decreases put into statute that frankly go against what the BKD report said should have happened, which is why I think it's even more important this summer to really get our hands around this issue and take a look at everything together so that we're not, picking and choosing fees that go up and go down and things like that.
We have about 20 seconds. Is there the political will to get this done this year?
I think so, and I hope so. You know, I think it is absolutely imperative that Hoosiers feel confident in the BMV and that their tax dollars are being, you know, spent well and collected only what is necessary. And for that to happen, we need to get this taken care of immediately.
Representative Dan Forrestal, thank you so much. We appreciate your time. Thank you so much. We now turn to the race for Senate, the one to fill the seat currently held by Dan Coates. There's a new Republican name in the campaign, Marlin Stutzman, currently serving in the House representing Northeast Indiana. Stutzman made his announcement last Saturday and is joining us for his first Sunday morning interview as an official candidate. Joining us now, Congressman Marlin Stutzman, who is now seeking the nomination for the Republican Party for U.S. Senate. Welcome to the program.
Thanks, Rafael. Great to be with you again.
Welcome. Why the interest in making the jump from the House over to the Senate?
You know, it's serving in Washington, you see a system right now in both House and Senate that just does not seem to be working. The Senate deals with a lot of the international issues, and with the rise of ISIS and the negotiations that are going on with Iran, and of course watching Russia and what's going on with Russia, I'm very interested in those issues and how it affects the United States. We have several challenges that we have to deal with. We need to deal with economic growth and wage increases, and we also need to work towards getting a balanced budget, and then also the safety and security of our country.
Why can't you do that in the House? Why do you think you'll be as successful or as successful in the Senate?
Yeah, well, you know, there's 435 members in the House of Representatives. There's 100 members in the Senate. It just gives you a better opportunity to work on a variety of issues, and also the Senate deals with confirming judges, and so that really we have to take a look at how that affects our statutes for the long term. And so when I see the opportunity to represent the entire state of Indiana, I think it's a wonderful opportunity, and we're excited about it.
You were very clear in your stance with your speech. I mean, you're God-fearing, you're gun-toting. You want to finish it off?
Well, common sense conservative.
Right.
Yeah, and you know what I mean by that is I love to hunt, and I love to be outdoors and outside, and I do have the lifetime handgun permit that Indiana has, but I also believe that we as Hoosiers have more in common than what separates us. Common sense is just a virtue of Hoosiers. You know, we see a problem and we work together and we say, how can we fix this problem? That was one of the things that I learned growing up on the farm, and you know, whenever we had a challenge, we'd sit around the table, whether it's family, workers working together, and say, hey, you know what, we have a problem that we have to deal with sooner and rather than later, and how are we going to tackle it?
Give me your middle ground then on the Affordable Care Act, because you've been very clear about that.
Yeah.
You wanted to repeal it.
Yeah.
As you know, the Supreme Court is going to rule on it in some capacity. We don't know what they're going to do.
There is a place in common ground for our health care system. I think that we should have focused on pre-existing conditions. As a Republican, I believe our party should have focused on that, because that's the higher cost to our health care system, and that puts a lot of responsibility on our hospitals and our doctors. Second of all, I think insurance companies would say, you know, why didn't we insure young adults up to the age of 26? I think those are all common sense things that we can sit down and say, why not? But I think it's the other component where the federal government is forcing Americans to fit in a box, and if we give insurance companies the ability to compete across state lines, I think that creates a marketplace where they then want our business, and I think that's what we should be focused on, and giving people choices and empower them rather than empowering the government to make the choices for a very personal decision in our health care.
The man whose seat you want to replace, Dan Coates, on this program has called Congress a miserable failure, and he wasn't trying to be disrespectful to the men and women who serve every day. He understands that they're good people, but he became frustrated, believing that nothing was getting done.
Yeah.
Do you see this Congress or Congress in recent years being a miserable failure?
Well, you know, as I pointed out in my speech on Saturday, you know, that there's problems on both sides of the aisle. I authored a conservative budget in this last month to the House of Representatives about how we need to focus on our military spending. We need to focus on growing the economy, and of course, we need to focus on balancing balancing the budget in Washington. I definitely understand Senator Coates' frustration, and he's an honorable man that served our state tremendously over the past several decades. So I know the frustration, but at the same time, I don't believe we can give up.
Will you support Mitch McConnell for leader?
Yes.
And who will you support for the Republican nominee for president? At least 50 of them running. Is there someone out there that you at this point believe, can carry your values?
Yeah, I like Scott Walker from Wisconsin. I think he's done a very good job where, in a state that has had its challenges. He's faced the electorate several times, once even in a recall. I think he has those Midwestern values, that common sense, that he uses as he faces challenges, and he wants to fix a problem. And I think he's a person that could do it. There's a lot of other good candidates. I like Marco Rubio from Florida. I think he understands the challenges that we have from a national perspective as a minority, and I'm excited to hear his message as well. And there's a lot of talent in the Republican primary, and so I'm anxious to hear the debate with them.
Congressman Marlin Stutzman, running for U.S. Senate. Thank you so much for your time, sir.
Thank you.
Please come back anytime.
Will do.
Thank you, sir. Coming up, she's entering the race for governor, the Democratic state senator, who says a vibrant primary is a good thing for the party. I talk with Karen Tallian next on Indianapolis This Week. Welcome back to Indianapolis This Week as we turn now to the race for governor. State Senator Karen Tallian jumping into the campaign this week, saying she will challenge John Gregg for the party's nomination for governor. Tallian says most of Indiana isn't nearly as conservative as it would appear watching the General Assembly. And she joins us now to talk about that campaign. You want to run as governor as a Democrat, as a progressive. What does that mean? And is there an appetite for that in our state?
Well, I absolutely think there's an appetite for that in our state. And, we've had a couple of elections where even though we have a legislature that has been kind of gerrymandered into districts that leave you a Republican supermajority, I don't think that that's what the state of Indiana is. And I think that if you look at the election of Glenda Ritz, at the last election of Mike Pence, at the last election with Joe Donnelly, those margins were much narrower than the margins that are in the State House right now.
But what's a progressive? What issues are you being progressive on?
Well, progressive is, it's a matter of perspective. I have told some people once that if I were in California, I might be a Republican. But a progressive, if you take a look at the agenda that is being run out of the State House right now, almost anything looks progressive. So when I talk about progressive, I'm talking about issues like choice, like helping women, like making sure that working families have good jobs and are not encumbered by a lot of regulations, and I'm talking about issues like civil rights.
So would you support a special class protection for the LGBTQ community?
Absolutely. In fact, that you will be seeing that from, at least from me. I know there are probably others who may be filing that next in the 2016 session, but I will certainly be filing a bill to amend the Civil Rights Act.
John Gregg says he is the man to beat Mike Pence if Mike Pence decides to run for re-election. And that is not stopping schools chief Glenda Ritz from considering the job, and I take that that's stopping you either, because I've read that you're not interested in being lieutenant governor.
Well, that is not why I'm doing this. I am not doing this to get in a position to do something else. I'm not running to be nominated for LG. I'm not running for governor so that I can go to Washington. I am running for governor because I think I'm a good candidate. And I'm never going to throw darts at John. He was our candidate in 2012. He came close. I recognize from just having my own angst in the last year and a half trying to decide whether to do this, just what a commitment this is. So I'm never going to throw darts at John. I commend him for having done that. But I think that we're looking for a different candidate. I think that, you know, if you want to oppose Mike Pence, you have to get on the other side.
Will you still support the medicinal marijuana bill that failed this year?
Absolutely.
Okay.
That's one of the most popular things that I do. No matter what else I do in the Senate, and I am in a lot of committees and do a lot of other work.
She'll continue to push that.
Doesn't matter where I go, that's what people want to talk about. So I'm not afraid of that issue.
Senator Karen Tallian, thank you so much. Best of luck as you seek the Democratic nomination for governor in 2016.
Thank you.
We appreciate your time. Thank you. Coming up, the plans for a new criminal justice center in Indianapolis apparently dead at the City-County Council. So what happens now? Our insiders tackle that question next on Indianapolis This Week. Welcome back to Indianapolis This Week as we welcome in our political insiders, Lara Beck and Abdul Hakim Shabazz. And Lara, of course, what's Abdul going to say this week to make you make that memorable face that we all see on Twitter?
Well, I'm going to be an exercise in restraint this week.
Okay.
Good
luck with that one.
Maybe I'll get Botox or something so I can keep a mask up.
Okay, let's talk about the Criminal Justice Center. Apparently that won't happen because Republicans deciding not to push the full council for a vote this week. And it appears the $1.75 billion plan for that facility at the former GM site is now dead. Good public policy or bad public policy?
Bad public policy. Like I said earlier in the week, you know, when the time value of money, it will never be cheaper to build the Justice Center than it is today. If you're going to do it later, okay, fine. Good luck finding the people to finance it. Good luck, you know, with respect to materials. I would have thought that with the passage of common construction wage, my Democratic friends would have wanted to move this forward because, yeah, guess what? Common wage is officially gone, you know, as of July 1. Now was the time to do it. Everybody had signed off on it. I find it interesting. Everybody's got all these problems now, but nobody had a problem, you know, when they signed a memorandum of understanding and what was going to happen. And so, you know, here we are.
Well, this has been a project from start to finish that has really been rife with challenges. And I think anytime you present something as it's our way or the highway, that's not the best way to work together on something. I think the administration and the Council of Democrats.
But the sheriff approved this, right?
The sheriff did, yes. And I think the sheriff has some very valid reasons for why he feels so strongly about the Criminal Justice Center. I think at the end of the day, there were a lot of challenges all the way through in getting people to come together. But it's been incredibly hard, especially with the financing. Is this really going to make the most sense? Because it is a major investment that's going to have to take place, plus the safety, plus the location, plus the lack of neighborhood buy-in. There's just a lot of factors there, and everyone has legitimate concerns.
Mayor Hogsett or Mayor Brewer will have to deal with this in 2016, right?
Unless something happens in the next magically 30 days, it's going to be a Joe Hogsett or Chuck Brewer or whoever the Libertarian candidate might be this year.
I think most people would probably agree we need to do something, but it's just what is that and what should it look like?
And the curse is
best fit for
and
the
curse is hope we don't get sued between now and then because of jail overcrowding and some other issues that are potentially out there.
Well, Sheriff Layton does a great job at keeping that down, though, and keeping the jail
So let's turn out to the BMV, another hot topic, just as troubled agency. Who gets the blame? A new report came out last week saying that they have to fix the fee structure. In some cases, they've already identified some more overcharges and undercharges as well.
I think part of the problem with the BMV, just looking at the way what the state is going to have to do with the BMV is what it did with the criminal code in a weird way, which is go back, look at all the different fees that are charged for, and it's not like all the fees go into one collective pot and then the money is distributed. You know, certain license plates go to certain dedications.
1,200 fees.
Yeah, 1,200 fees. They're going to have to scale that down and clean that up, and until you clean that up, you'll never be able to solve your BMV issue.
The BMV is one of those agencies that if you have a car or you need a driver's license, you have some type of interaction with. Sure. And I think that whoever is running against Mike Pence could probably use this as a campaign issue because it's a very salient issue that really touches everyone.
I'm sure those commercials are underway as we speak.
I'm sure they're being written.
Another big week for the state is signing its first contract with the public relations firm Porter Novelli to fix the damage done by the Religious Freedom Act debate. The contract calls for the state to pay up $750,000 for work through September the 30th. That work will include designing a PR campaign. It does not cover the cost of actually implementing that campaign. how much will it cost to repair the state's image?
First of all, I could have done it for $500,000 and saved the state a whole bunch of money by telling my Republican friends, RFRA is a bad idea, don't do it. Oops, I'm sorry, already did that. I mean, we're in the situation we're in now.
Is this worse, though? I mean, is this contract reminding people
oh, yeah, it just continues to go. It brings the story on. I mean, one of the things in PR that we always say is you let the air out of the balloon, and then you just hope, you just hope you can move on from it. But what this does is every single time these things happen, it just brings it right back up. And the best way that what we could do right now to fix this problem would be to pass a protected class for our LGBT citizens and neighbors.
Why not
it's the best thing we do right now, just to end it.
But why not give this money to a group like Visit Indy, or even the lieutenant governor who runs a Department of Tourism to focus on the image of the state?
The way I understand the way the contract is going to work, for what I read through the other day, is there are a number of quote-unquote subcontracting opportunities for Indiana firms and whomever to get this done. But the thing about Porter Novelli, though, is they are global, and Indiana has a global problem, and you need global solutions to solve your global issues.
The global problem is we have people who pushed this through and thought this wouldn't be a problem and just want it to go away. But hiring an out-of-state PR firm and paying them $750,000 is not going to sit well with the average voter who's struggling to make ends meet.
Hey, do me a favor when you make that face. Give it to him. He's the one.
I'm sorry.
I'm just asking the question.
Like I said, I'd have done it for $250 because I like you guys. So there you go.
The conversation between our insiders continues on Twitter. You can even see the face she makes on Twitter. Check out their Twitter handles and give us your opinion. And stay up to date with Mary Beth, Lara, Abdul, Dan, and Jennifer throughout the week. Indianapolis This Week continues right after the break. Sunday is a week off for our Indianapolis This Week team. We'll be taking part in the greatest spectacle in racing, the 99th running of the Indianapolis 500. Join our full RTV6 team for a full day of race coverage starting at 5 a.m. with breakfast at the Brickyard. You'll also be able to watch it on our RTV6 app if you're going to the track. Then you get home, you can watch RTV6 is the only place to see the race. Our coverage begins at 7 p.m. on Sunday. And thank you for joining us today. Stay with us on the RTV6 app and throughout the day to keep track of weather and the RTV6 for live coverage of Pole Day. Have a great day.